How's all the interviews going?
Yeah, going really nice. Yeah, one after the other. So
nice.
I've just been talking all day long.
Oh my god, you must be exhausted.
Which I guess that's what I'm doing these days, talking. This is what my thing is now, to talk to people.
Yeah.
So
what's your sort of window of like energy where you're like, oh, I don't
know. I'll keep going at the moment. We'll just see where it stops, where it takes me. So once I no, I think I'm pretty good with this. It's just having a conversation, isn't it?
Yeah, man.
Is what this is. So thank you for joining me.
That's all right.
This is the BTS Creative Academy podcast. We're here at the Romford Film Festival, where I don't know too much about you guys because you've just walked straight into the cinema screen, which we set up, and
weren't even invited.
You weren't invited. You just was like, oh, there's someone in there that wants to talk to you, and you came in, and here we are. So tell me, what are you doing here?
So we've just shown our first feature film, Mr. Doom, and I'm the writer, director, editor, and producer. I hate saying that because anyway.
What do you hate about it? The many titles, many hats.
Many titles always makes it sound a bit hack, like somebody who's a bit of a control freak.
Well, I guess in the independent film world, you do have to take on a number of hats to get the thing done. Exactly,
necessity more than anything else. And this is...
I'm Andrew Chappell, and I was the sound supervisor and sound editor on the film.
Yeah.
And the film is being shown here?
It's just being shown. Yeah, we've just come off the back of it now,
right, okay.
And it was nice to see it on a pretty good screen. Yeah. Very happy with it. Yeah.
Where are we at with showing this film to people? Is this a tour at the moment?
It's it's just Cannes just finished yesterday, so that was. So
you've come back from there, have you?
No, we our sales agent just I don't know, I've not heard from him. He's probably in a ditch somewhere, clutching onto a bottle of rosé somewhere on a boat in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. Our sales agent had the film out there, and fingers crossed. There's some good news. We haven't heard anything. But
you don't know yet.
No.
Maybe he's still working on some deals.
Maybe, hopefully, yeah. So it's always good to see your film just in a cinema on a big screen, regardless, because it's a completely different experience, and especially having edited it as well, and Andy doing all the sound design and mix and everything else. You're so used to seeing it on a screen in an edit suite. So
why is it different in the cinema? Why does the cinema bring out something new in your film?
I think you favour certain shots because you have the cinema screen in your mind, even when you're even when you're looking at the monitor on set, you're like. There's this sort of idea of how will this look on the big screen, and we've made a film about pool sharks. So how do you make pool interesting and dynamic? Like how do you shoot people playing pool to make it look like this huge deal? Because really, in the reality, it's not like that at all. If you just go to a pool hall and two guys playing pool, it's like. Plink, plink,
yeah,
plink.
and is there something in, like, I was talking to someone recently about football movies,
and
how hard it is to bring something like that together and make it look authentic, because I guess you're going to script, this is what happens within that bit there, but then making that happen, faking it, it doesn't always come across? Does it?
Yeah.
Is there a way?
We shot around people who... I'm going to say this now because the actors were supposed to play a lot of pool and a lot of practice before the film, and from what I could gather, they did nothing.
They didn't. No, this is typical of actors. I'm an actor myself,
right, okay.
And so actors are terrible with things like that. You might get one or two that are pretty good at doing the prep work, but in general, I think most actors are like, let's just wing it.
Yeah.
Or I can play pool, right? And I'm guilty of that myself.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, everything else they absolutely aced, so I can't. I'm not dissing them in any way. But we had on certain shoots in certain pool halls, we had people there to sort of supervise and go, "Why are you holding it like that?" But actually, it worked out pretty well because they're sharks. So if you're looking like you're this shit hot pool player, and then you're trying to sort of dupe people into think that they can beat you, then you've got to look like you can't play.
So it actually worked out quite well.
It did.
It worked for the mistake, the error. Worked in your favour for the story.
Yeah, exactly. And I was part of me was like going, well, they wouldn't, But the way we shot it was that we weren't going to get this nice wide where we, so Tom Cruise in Colour of Money,
Yes.
where he apparently did all this prep to be able to do these trick shots and things, and because he's crazy. We'd shot all the balls in this macro lens, going underslung on the table, following the balls everywhere. So it was all really the balls huge.
Yeah.
And again, going back to how I imagine this on the big screen, it's the balls are taking up the whole.
You could see that vision.
Yes.
As you're going through with it.
Yeah. So the way I pitched it when talking to people, they go, "Well, so what's the film? What is the film, and what is it like?" I was like, "Well, imagine Shane Meadows decided to make Colour of Money." So it's a very British take on a very American story,
Right.
and it was edited by Edgar Wright. So, and to your point earlier in the other interview, actually, when they're around the pool table, it becomes a different type of film. So it's shot differently. So when they're in their mundane lives, because they're these guys that live on the fringes of society, that it's all very kind of Shane Meadows-esque and a bit sort of raw. But when they're around a pool table, it just becomes this
something else happens.
Yeah. The tone, the way it's shot, the colour, everything is because that's where they shine.
Right.
That's their stage, So we that's how we got around them being crap at playing pool. It's a really long-winded way of saying that.
No, it's a really important way to get that message out, is to have a long-winded explanation sometimes. And what about, so you were doing the sound editing?
Yeah, so
on this?
sound design, sound supervision overall.
And was it particularly important? Was this different to other films? Because I'm thinking of, I just go straight to that sound of there's a distinct sound of them balls hitting each other, isn't there, on a pool table? That chink, nothing else.
Yeah.
So was that quite a challenge to make that work?
Well, to kind of back up what Leif was saying, really, we went through these kind of sort of production meetings, Leif, myself, and the composer, to kind of come up with how we wanted to move forward with it stylistically, especially in those moments where they were, around the pool table, where it was kind of became quite hyper real. As Leif was saying, that's their stage, that's their kind of superhero moment, when the rest of the film, again, they're very kind of, down and out, or it's just a very regular life. So again, sonically, it's gone from kind of your everyday to, when we get around the pool table, it becomes this kind of explosive. Again, we kind of went down the Wild West route with it, because it was kind of very much a story of someone coming in from out of town and hustling and all of that. So Josh, who did the score, went that way musically, and I kind of knitted into that the sound design around when the games are being played, kind of meshing that classic pool sound with gunshots from original Western guns, Smith & Wessons and rifles and stuff like that, and dynamite explosions, things that would have been authentically from that period, sort of whizzes and ricochets and all that kind of, like you'd see in an action movie, the kind of the big explosive moments, gunfights and all that kind of stuff. So that was kind of the direction we took it, and to make those moments, and again to support the way it was shot around the pool table sonically, and just give it that extra push.
Was there anything that inspired you to take it in that direction?
Well, we had
My
the
direction.
productions. Yeah.
Your direction.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think. Was you pulling on films from the past? Because you mentioned westerns.
I'm a big fan of the old westerns. It's funny. My dad used to love old western films, and I never got it when I was younger. And the last kind of 10 years, if I've got an afternoon off and I stick, it's on some random 5-star or channel on the TV, and it's just a really old fringe western movie, low budget. And the cheesy ricochet sounds and the backdrops and all that, and I watched a lot of those films, and it just kind of that when we discussed and kind of decided we were going to go down that route, first thing that came into my head was all of that kind of stuff that I'd watched before, and kind of after doing a bit of research then on the weaponry that was used, and I go into quite geeky levels of detail about it. But yeah, that was what kind of inspired me in terms of researching the sonic values of how I was going to contribute in that sense.
So where did you guys start working together? Is this film? Is this what's brought this collaboration together, or
No,
is there a history here?
Yeah, Andy used to be in a band, and
Right.
I was doing a lot of music videos, and I have a long history of making the last music video for a lot of bands. I'm like,
Harbinger of Doom.
I come in and I'm like, yeah, you're not going to do another gig after this. So yeah, I did
The last
the
music video.
But yeah, and I think just after that, we just sort of, stayed in touch, and I think, you then decided to just quit not quit, but you stopped your normal day job and went, I'm going to go into business myself and I'm going to do this professionally. And you got into, I think you initially were just going to be a producer, weren't you?
Yeah, so my band kind of came to a natural end after Leif jinxed it with doing the final music video that we ever did. And like I said, I've always wanted to go full time in the studio. Kind of day job, and decided to get out of the day job. COVID hit, and I rebuilt my studio. Initially went into music production, producing with other artists and composing. But then throughout lockdown, we were in touch anyway, and he was kind of telling me all about the projects that he was coming to. We did a music project together, didn't we? That was the first little thing we did.
A little lockdown project.
Yeah. Yeah, I've still got that.
Yeah.
What was that? What was that project?
Is this a track? It wasn't that you wrote.
A track that I wrote and then sent it to him, and it was this sort of like nice sort of collaborative workflow that you can do from home now, where we're just like throwing each other stems, and then I made a music video to go with it purely using an iPad,
right?
Which was like a little sort of, I think everyone's doing this over lockdown. It was like, I'm going to give myself a challenge. What can I do?
What can I put together? What can I make that I wouldn't necessarily have the time to make?
Yeah, exactly. That.
What I'm having a lot of these conversations with creatives in different fields at the moment, and there's actually some benefit in that time. A lot of bad stuff went on. A lot of people had a lot of difficulties, but somewhere in taking us away from the normal everyday existence that we all had before, and we had this kind of moment where we had a time to like pause and reflect, and just everything else just stopped for a moment, and we could do our thing if we wanted to.
Yeah, reflection, focus, I think were two key things for me during COVID. Got to reflect on the last 20 years or whatever, where things were going, and then the next, what the next step was, and then really focus on that, as Leif said, and
well, Mr. Doom is born out of lockdown.
Yeah.
Right.
Over lockdown I moved back. Well, I moved in with my parents up in Oxford, and I'd been trying to sort of tout this script for a horror film called Freitag, to no avail. And I kept having the same conversation with producer, going, have you made a feature film before? I go, well, no, but I'm hoping this would be my first. And they're like, well, come back when you have. So, the idea behind it was like a more practical aspect of like, okay, so what do I have here in Oxford? So we shot it in Oxford.
Right.
What do we have? Who can I bring on board? I'm going to write the characters to the people that I know, and I'm going to make it as easy as possible so it can be easily funded. And that was another challenge, a lockdown challenge, and it worked. I think it was the only way personally that I could really get an opportunity to make a feature film. So then when I have those conversations later down the line, I can go, yes, I have made a film.
Yeah. How important is that for an independent filmmaker to actually do a full feature? Because there's quite a few short films out there, and it can, I guess it can be quite easy to just keep doing what you know with the short film format.
Yeah.
So, why does that break us through that we've done a whole, 70, 80, 90 minute project? Why does that take us to the next level?
Because I used to think, what's the difference? And there's a huge difference. And I think the reason that people are saying, have you made a feature film before? Because I think they understand what goes into it and how thick-skinned you're supposed to be, and it's a different beast. It's not like, hey, we'll do a 15-minute film over the course of like 3 or 4 days. We shot this in 15 days, but it was doable. It was doable, and that was the whole point. But I think if I was any more adventurous with my script, then we wouldn't have finished it.
So you did have to give yourself some kind of restraints, because that's hard when you're being creative and your mind's sort of flowing. How do you put constraints on that? How do you say, like, I can't go past this because it won't happen?
I think it's because I'm a jobbing director anyway. So like,
is it from the experience of?
yeah, like talking to clients where they say, look, we've got X amount of money. Can we have this? And I'm like, not really. Let's try and sort of let's boil this down and let's see what we can do to your budget. So I'm kind of used to working to budgets, but on a smaller scale. And I think when it comes to a feature film, it's just nothing really kind of, nothing can really, what's the word I'm looking for? Prepare. Thank you. Prepare you for a non-stop 15-day shoot with hardly any sleep, and having to wear a lot of hats because you have to, not because you want to, and just stay on top of everything. It's exhausting.
Yeah, you're just in the position of the director. There is so much riding on you, isn't it? But then when you're also all them other things as well, that can be tough.
Yeah, when you're driving people back and forth yourself as well.
Yeah, sorting out the catering. It goes down to
all
that kind of level, doesn't it?
Yeah, being there for people who are having little mini breakdowns.
Of course.
All that kind of stuff when all you want to do is sleep yourself. There's a lot going on, and it can be very intense, and you've got to be very level-headed, and just keep your eye on the prize. And then once the film, once you've wrapped, then you can have a little time to yourself.
Yeah. So what is the prize? What does that look like?
Well, the prize is always just get it finished first
Right.
and foremost, and then think about everything after that, because you can't think about everything after, that it's one step at a time. And that's how I felt the whole process was, got to do this. Okay, once I get to this point, then I can do this. And then you had
I guess
to
you could get away with yourself, couldn't you? You could start running away with where you're a creative person and you've got an imagination. You can start going to right. Then I've finished the day. It's the festival next, and then I'm selling it, and I'm going to make £1 million, and then they're going to pick me up, and I'm going to do another big movie or something. So you can easily run like really far into the future, can't you?
Yeah. I think you just got to be very practical about these things and realistic, and I've had some great conversations with people as well because of this, and because I've got a film, I've managed to have that time with people who are work in the film industry as a business, and we'll go, well, this is a business and this is how you'll get funding, and then you're kind of that sort of free creative person that you are is sort of like giving a bit of a wake-up call. But like, there's nothing wrong with that, and I think you can still be very creative within the confines of what the business allows you to do.
What's a big takeaway that you said you've had a lot of conversations with people in the business? What's a big sort of business takeaway that you've got from this particular film?
It's all the kind of data and metrics sort of aspects of what sells.
Yes.
What if you're going to write a script, probably Mr. Doom might not have been the right script to make. It's like, well, horror or action, and both genres that I love. But it's also like the networking side of things, which I can't stand. I'm very introvert, so I just don't like being sort of in those very contrived situations where you go, hi, it just makes my skin crawl. But just being told that, well, if you're not going to do that, then you might as well not bother. Just get over yourself, make it happen. So there's a lot of
sorry, I feel like you're talking to me directly at the moment, because I went to
Sorry, dude.
No, in a good way, because I went to a podcast festival the other day, and everyone was I had producers saying, don't bother. If you're not going to do the things, like you're not going to do the attention-seeking stuff, if you're not going to do like tick box, all these different metric things, don't bother. And it's really nice for you to say, no, I'm saying in the way that it's really nice that you're saying the things that you're saying, because it's resonating with me, with what I'm trying to do here. And I'm like, though, you've got to do you listen, but you've also got to do your thing. You do know, don't you? As that creative individual that's made this thing, you do know what's best for it. That you don't necessarily have to take the advice of the metrics or the you should be doing this genre or that genre and able to push it forward.
Well, I guess it's be aware of it, understand, where the playing fields are, and navigate your way through it, so you're not, you know, you don't come across as a novice, I guess. And you know, but you're right. Ultimately, it's like, you know, no one can tell you exactly what the winning formula is.
Yeah.
As much as they, you know, they've called the metrics and everything like that. It's like the winning formula, I think, is what comes from you, and that is completely unique, because if not, then it's just, we're just living in a world of mediocrity, which sometimes does feel a little bit.
Yeah, it does. It does. But then, the most beautiful things happen when we go outside of that. That doesn't it? I was talking to someone earlier about Citizen Kane and how that like changed cinema. But Orson Welles, who's been told you can't make cinema like this, you can't do that. Everyone said that to him, but yet he did it anyway, and cinema changed afterwards.
It tends to be those moments that pushes any artistic kind of endeavour forwards, I think, whether it's music, cinema, art. Like, there's always those moments of someone saying, well, doing exactly the opposite of what they're being told they should be doing, and it tends to bring things forward, doesn't it? So,
No, definitely. I think when I was younger, you know, I probably speak for a lot of people, especially creative people, like you don't put any restraints on yourself, and you just go, you know, head first into it, and then you end up unearthing lots of like really special things about you and what you do. And as you get a little bit older, you kind of put these roadblocks in front of you and you stop yourself, and then that's when the sort of the creativity kind of like dumbs down a little bit. And I think, you know, I never really want to try and, I mean, filmmaking is about compromises all the way through, and you know, being in certain scenarios and go, well, hang on, we can get rid of this bit in the script and blah blah, and just, you know, being very practical.
Or some magic can happen, like you were saying about the actors not practicing how to play Paul, but actually that worked better for the film.
Yeah. Well, actually, a lot of the magic, and a lot of people have said about the film, is like it's from the actors, but they're not actors. They're all well, mainly stand-up comedians.
Okay.
And I wrote the script with them in mind. So, and they were all very, very flattered when I went, this character is based on you. And they're like, I wrote this for you. And like, what? You write a script and you wrote this for me? It's like, you can't say no to that.
Yeah.
So I kind of hoodwinked them into it. But this is part of me that just knew that it's like they're stand-up comedians, and I just know they'll see where the comedy is. They'll know the beats. They'll see where the funny is, even when it's not obvious on page. And when it came to like the kind of more heartfelt drama, my God, like they brought it, you know.
Comedians there is something about comedians being some of the best actors out there. Yeah. There's something in comedy, even when you turn them around and you make them do something serious, something happens that a serious actor might not quite be able to pull off. Yeah. Thinking of Robin Williams when he changed from being a comedian and he did 1 hour photo. Yeah. Do you remember that one? Yeah. And everyone said, you can't do this. Yeah. You're the funny guy. And then he did quite a few serious films after that. Yeah. But he played them really well. He played them with amount of like this authenticity he brought to the role. Yeah. And I see that with comedians, that they bring something.
A lot of them do. I mean, I was only watching Mrs. Brown earlier this week, and you know, Billy Connolly, and I think that was the film that people were like, oh, wow, you know,
he can actually act, you know, he can
do this. And I think there is something in that. Danny Sutcliffe, who plays, he's the main protagonist in the film. He plays Mr. Doom. There's this one scene where he's on the phone he's basically fucked his own life, and sorry to swear, and he's trying to he's got nothing but regrets, and he you know, he's an alcoholic and a womanizer and all the rest, and you know, he's very lonely, but he has this other life that he's left behind with, like, you know, an ex-partner and a daughter. You find out daughter. And he's just talking to, you know, he's just on the phone. You don't hear the other side, but he's just talking to this daughter. And you can't help but get really teary-eyed every time you see it. And we were when we were filming it. And I said, how did you just turn that on? Like, I wasn't expecting it, because I was like, well, we'll workshop this and we'll get there. And he just brought it straight away. And he said, I didn't turn it on. I kind of turned everything else off, because all my life I'm being the funny guy, and that's me just being on all the time. The real me is not that. You know, I'm not that funny guy all the time.
Comedians are very good at being in the moment, aren't they?
Yeah.
If you think of when you see a stand-up and you really, when you're watching them and they're telling their jokes and they're engaging with the audience, like they're just there in that present. And I think that's really important for an actor to find, to be present.
Yeah.
And they find something truthful in that, don't they?
That's very true, actually. Yeah, that's really interesting, because they are. That's what makes them funny, because they're just in the moment constantly. And I think that's.
And if someone heckles them, it doesn't matter to the, you know, the good ones. It doesn't matter to their set, that heckling, because they bring that into the moment.
Yeah.
They embrace it.
Yeah.
And in acting, film, theatre, that, you know, you live in that moment. You can find something special.
We were saying earlier, so I think there's an inherent darkness within a lot of comedians, or maybe all comedians as well, because they're kind of.
They can see a truth.
It's a show.
Can't they?
Everything, their life is a show in terms of that. You know, the masks they put on to make everybody laugh, and you know, you can't be like that all day, every day, can you? You know, you sat at home in your kitchen. You're not. You know, there's something there underneath that's brooding, and you know.
I say all comedians, you're all broken.
You're the broken.
It might not all be that way, I don't know. Maybe that's a bit of a generalisation.
Yeah, but we do see it a lot, though, don't we? We do see it happen a lot.
Yeah, indeed.
I think going forward, I would like to make a habit of just casting comedians.
Really?
Because it was just such a joy. And this isn't, you know, I'm not saying anything bad about the people who were cast, you know, who were actual actors who weren't comedians in the film, but it was a real pleasure. And also, they brought a few lines, and they were very respectful for the script as well, because I think they always saw the gags.
Yes. Yeah.
But they would just go, for this next take, could I just say this? And I go, that's hilarious. Yeah, of course, why not? And every one of their suggestions, it was in, because it was just far, far funnier.
Yeah. There's definitely something in it. So what are the hopes and dreams for this film moving forward? What do you hope, what do you dream that this film will do?
I think, you know, we're very proud of it, but I think it's our first feature, and you know, done on you know, a relatively small budget, and this is hopefully the start of a journey, and you know, a stepping stone into the next. So we're already thinking about the next film, and the conversations that we've had off the back of this, just because we've made a film. It's a catalyst, you know. Not to sort of say that this film is just a catalyst. I wish that all I want, like any filmmaker, is for people to watch it and enjoy it. Ultimately, that is the only thing I really want. And I just want it to be out there and have those conversations again, where it's like, yes, we've got a film already. It's out there. We've got the experience. You can watch it yourself if you want, and it's proved that we can do it. And we have done it with, you know. Yeah.
Is this your calling card for both of you? Is this a certain moment that you can go back to?
I think so. I would definitely say that. Yeah, I mean, to do your first feature film, get it out into the festivals, and start winning awards for it as well, which we've done with this one, is huge. It's a huge step from even doing shorts, or you know. I would definitely say it's a calling card for sure. Yeah.
I think so. I think also it wasn't really the film that I ever thought I would make as my first feature, which is interesting. But I feel like I, through the writing, found a bit of a tone of voice as well through doing it, which I'm now adapting other scripts, because I was like, oh, I'm kind of good at sort of writing this type of dialogue here, and so it was a bit of a boot camp. I think, more than anything.
Learn a lot of lessons.
Massively so.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give to someone going into their first feature? What would from both of you, what would you say to them that from your individual fields, and they're just about to start for day one?
From a sound perspective, I mean, the biggest thing, I think, especially doing a first feature like this, which is always going to be a challenge, and budget-wise, is just persevere, believe in the project and what you're doing. If you're if you're committed to it, and yeah, teamwork in particular is I think on any project of this size is probably the single biggest thing. Like it can get very fraught, quite stressful at times, but because there's so many moving parts and a lot of people are doing a lot of jobs, as we mentioned before. So yeah, perseverance and just push through it basically. Just believe in what you're doing and
take direction, hit deadlines.
Yes, yeah, that too. Well, that being said, actually, that's a really important thing is taking direction, contribution to the creative process. Sorry,
do you know what? I think that's mine.
Contributions to the creative process. We all had a big input into the final result, but ultimately, there's a guy at the top or a girl at the top of the tree that has the overall vision and that was you in this film, and then it's super important to not only respect that but like utilize it. I utilized Leif's input, feedback, direction as a huge part of kind of how I did what I did within the film. I think the other guys did as well. It's not just for actors, it's for the rest of us in terms of post and the other artistic kind of aspects of the film that go on behind the scenes. Yeah,
it's a team sport, isn't it?
Oh, massively.
Making films.
Yeah.
It definitely is. It definitely is. I'm sort of standing on the shoulder of giants really, because because I'm a jobbing director, so I kind of have all my sort of go-to guys that I call on for jobs. So Craig Murdoch, the DOP, I've worked with for 20 years, and this is like our first feature together. So we had that sort of shorthand, and he could take my nonsense and I can take his, and we're kind of bulletproof in that respect. And so yeah, I mean, what I would say is, what I learned was, I hate it when seasoned directors or people who have been doing it for a while, they say it's so easy now to make a film because of the technology. You can do it on your phone now.
Yes, there is that theory,
which I think is bullshit.
Okay.
It's not the same world. It's not the same landscape, as it was back then.
I guess for trialing it, for learning a few, better than doing nothing.
Sure.
You could do something.
Oh no.
You've got that opportunity, but to have it on the big screen, to showcase it at festivals, you're going to need to do something different.
Well, I mean, about 10 years ago, we interviewed Ridley Scott, and he was lovely, but he went on a bit of a rant about, you stop whining. Like, people are, stop whining, you can't make something, you've got DSLR, you've got iPhone, it's easy, you can go out there and do it. I'm like, yeah, it's not that simple though, is it? Because everyone is doing it, it's saturated. And there's a lot, and you've got YouTube, and now there's so much going on, there's a lot, and you've got a lot of competition. Festivals, like millions of festivals now, it's a much bigger deal. So you've got to really make a big noise to try and stand out now. So no, I don't think it is easier. And also, don't settle for that. If he says, oh yeah, you can shoot something in a GH5, go out and say, well, shoot Napoleon on a GH5, you prick. It's just it's probably would have been better, honestly. It's not that, is it? If you've got a vision and an iPhone's not going to cut it, then you deserve more from your idea. If it deserves more, then strive for it, and then dig your heels in if you're not getting it as well, and really, really fight for it. Because if you don't, all you'll do is look back and regret that you didn't. So that's my
goes back to that thing of not doing what you're told, right?
Yeah, my little nugget.
No. There's so much value you guys are both giving to the podcast as well. I really appreciate it. So I don't like to cut this short, but I feel like at some point in the future maybe we'll dive in a bit more. Really like to find out more about both of you and your history in the filmmaking business. But just for our listeners for now, if they want to look at your film, is there a way that they can find it?
Well, can't watch it just yet, but the trailer's online somewhere at the moment. Like I say,
have you got social media presence with?
Yes. So you can go on, Instagram and just Mr. Doom.
Mr. Doom.
You'll find it easy peasy. And there's awesome things.
I appreciate
Awesome.
you both for joining me. Thank you. I look forward to seeing it myself at some point. And if anyone was watching or listening, thank you for joining us on this conversation. Cheers, guys. Brilliant.
Awesome, man. That was awesome.
Lovely. I only wrapped it up because of time and the
Yeah,
next one
yeah,
coming
fine.
in. I did want to carry that on for a bit longer, but that's great. Thank you.
Cool.
And you, yeah.
Jesus.